Dear young adults, Sai Ram. Welcome to the February workshop for the Sathya Sai Young Adult Talent Development Program 2018. Before we kickstart today's workshop, let's pray to our beloved Bhagavan for his blessings to ensure the session runs smoothly. Dear Bhagavan, we pray to you to seek your guidance, to deepen our understanding and broaden our thinking. Swami, with your divine blessings, may the skills that we develop from this workshop be used to aid us all in our daily lives. Today's session will be facilitated by Brother Sai Ameet Peswani from Hong Kong. Brother Sai Ameet is the current Zone 5 Young Adults Coordinator and is also the National Treasurer for Hong Kong. He has completed his Masters of Finance and is currently pursuing his Masters in Psychology. He owns 2 learning centres where he teaches English, French, Maths, Economics, Accounting and Finance. He is also a corporate skills trainer. As you can see, he enjoys facilitating skill development. He also manages an e-commerce business. Welcome, Brother Sai Ameet. The floor is all yours.
Om Sai Ram. I offer my most loving and humble pranams at the lotus feet of our beloved Bhagwan, Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Om Sai Ram, dear brothers and sisters. Welcome to today's session, which is InSAIght through InSAIght, a personal approach, a practical approach to self-analysis. So we will firstly begin with a prayer. And the prayer is, Om Sahana Bhavatu, Sahana Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karva Vahe, Tejasvina Vaditamastu, Maha Vitvisha Vahe. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. With this prayer, we are asking our beloved Bhagwan to bless us so that he is the teacher and we, his students, work together with energy and vigor so that today's study is enlightening for all of us, and we can use it, as Sister Abina said, in our lives. Let us proceed to today's session objectives. So the first objectives are understand what is InSAIght and InnerSight. So you can see the funny emoticon there. What is it? And as we progress, we will develop the question, how do we cleanse our sight? And the solution to that is the personal analysis using SWOT. We will then proceed to look at how can a clean mind lead to InSAIght, which is the inner Sai within all of us. And from there, we will proceed to and conclude with, what does Swami want from all of us as devotees, as his Prema Sarupa Lara? So let us begin with the first question. Understand what is InSAIght and InnerSight. Now, as we go along, I'm going to read some quotes for all of us. So I want you to go through the quotes, and as we are going, I want you to think, what is the common message? So let us look together the first message, which is from Swami Vivekananda. And the first message is, the kingdom of heaven is within us. God is within us. He is the soul of all souls. See him in every soul, in your own soul, That is practical religion. That is freedom. If you look at the Dalai Lama, he says something along the similar lines. The source of peace is within us. So also the source of war and the real enemy is within us, not outside. The source of war is not the existence of nuclear weapons. What is it? It is the minds of human beings, which we will touch on today, and we will look at how to cleanse this mind. And who decides to push the buttons and to use those arms of hatred, anger, and any of the vices we may have. How beautiful is this? So let's see if you can figure out the commonalities. Let's look at the third one. That's from Mahatma Gandhi. Sri Mahatma Gandhi said, both heaven and earth and hell, both heaven and hell are within us. And finally, we conclude with what Swami says. And he quotes from the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna insisted on outer cleanliness and inner cleansing. Clean clothes and clean minds are an ideal combination. So, brothers and sisters, during this course, because we are going to have an interactive session, and I'm going to post a lot of questions from you guys. So I want you to keep answering, keep filling in your chat, your answers in the chat box, and feel free to ask any questions anytime. So the first question today is, what is common between all of this? Can you share your thoughts in the chat box? So we'll pull up all the quotes now, so you can all look at the quotes again. And as you're looking through the quotes, you can look at what is common in all of them. Everything is there within us. Beautiful. It's all about our mindset. Yes, it is. Everything good and bad is within us. Beautiful. We need to watch our thoughts, words, and deeds. Yes. They're all about our inner voice. Yes, beautiful. Okay, so let's proceed, and let's see what unfolds for us. So now we're looking at what is, or what does Swami say about clean clothes and clean minds. So let's first look at clean clothes. What do you think clean clothes means? So this is my second question to all of you. Clean clothes. Does it mean we need to only keep ourselves physically clean? Or what do you think? True wisdom lies within all of us. Beautiful, Sister Raksha. Yes, so we're going on to the next part, and that is clean clothes. So I want you to share your thoughts. What do you think clean clothes means? Why does Swami refer to clean clothes? What is the importance of it? Thoughts that we adorn should be clean. Okay? We're not there yet, sister. Yes, keep surroundings clean. Very good. A clear outlook on life means our character. Character, not yet. So it's good, Sister Sai Lakshmi. It is on character, but character comes later. Clean clothes is something more. Let's see what it is. Body and mind in sync. Beautiful. There's still more to it. There's still more to it. Now, clean clothes and clean minds is body, mind, and sync. So let's see what we have. Good company. Good. Let's see what we have. So let's look at clean mind. Does it mean we are easily affected? Does it give rise to temptations? Are we easily affected by temptations, desires? How about our senses? The 5 senses. Are we easily affected by what we see, touch, feel, hear, and say and do? Just let's think about it. To remove negative thoughts. Maya. Oh, Maya is a big one. So some brilliant answers over here. So let's see. What is clean mind and clean clothes? So we'll start with clean clothes first. What does Swami say about clean clothes? Clean clothes, yes. Physical cleanliness, which leads to mental cleanliness. So Swami says there should be both inner and outer purity. Bodily purity relates to the physical, which is our external body, which is what we can see, we can feel and touch with, we can hear with, we can taste with, and we can do things with. So as Swami said, it covers all such acts such as bathing, wearing clean clothes, eating pure food, because pure food leads to pure thoughts. Okay, so Swami talks about all of this, the inner and outer purity. Now I want to look at what is eating pure food. Can you tell me, why do we eat pure food? Or why do we offer food to Bhagwan? So I can see I missed out a few things earlier, but that's fine. So why do we eat pure food? Why do we eat clean food? Why do we eat good food? So he can purify it before we consume it. Beautiful, yes. What we eat becomes us eventually. Good food leads to good thoughts, to get positive energy, to purify thoughts. Our body is a temple that everything enters must be pure. Very good thoughts, dear brothers and sisters, and that's exactly what Swami is trying to refer to. So what Swami says is, he's talking about the body. Now there's another part in the body which Swami refers to, and I'll read it out to you, all of you. But mere external cleanliness without internal purity is of no value. It is time to recognize, as all of you said, that this body is a temple of God, with which we must do 4 things. Be good, do good, see good, and tell good, which are the 4 Mahavakyas that Bhagwan has given us. And I see someone has also mentioned to feel good. Yes, when you do all of this, you be good, do good, see good, tell good, you're definitely going to have a feeling that leads to happiness. And that is what our Bhagwan tells us. Let's look at the mind. The mind is all about few things. Can you tell me what is in the mind? Let's see. Clean mind, does it get easily affected? Now Swami says, all the actions a man performs, it comes from internal desires, internal forces, but not from external forces. What is Swami trying to say? Which means that if I come across some sort of thing I want to buy, some sort of thing I want to visit, some sort of thing I want to go to, all that comes from within? It's very interesting when Swami says this, because he's so rightly putting it for all of us. When we have desires, those desires develop from our likes and dislikes. Now, likes and dislikes are all within, and therefore, all these internal impulses come from within. They're a reflection of our inner being. So, what Swami is telling us is that actions can only be pure when our inner self is pure. But as our inner self is impure, our actions will also be impure. And the mind is always polluted. Yes, we always hear Swami telling us, the mind is always polluted. But let's take it a step further. To purify the mind, all bad thoughts have to be expelled. Now I'm going to ask you, dear brothers and sisters, can we actually expel all thoughts? Even all bad thoughts, can we expel all of it? Can we get rid of all of this? We can transform them, yes. Very good, Sister Raksha. So we transform them slowly is possible. Beautiful, yes. No, they're passing clouds. We should not choose to download them. Beautiful. Replace and keep filling them with positive thoughts. Yes, all of these are so true. And that is what we need to lead to. But how? There's always a question of how. What system will sustain us to make sure that we ensure that we can change these thoughts, transform these thoughts, replace these thoughts? Now, there are so many ways we can use, and I'm going to use one of the things that Swami talks about. So let me first just bring about a conclusion so far. The body given to man is for practicing righteousness. It is time to use our minds for the real purpose, to serve mankind. Now, Swami talks about serving mankind. If you're already doing this, we should do more. And if we haven't started, then all of us know it's the right time to start, because Swami has chosen us today here to develop our skill to ensure our mind is within our control. And when the mind is within our control, we can develop an inner sight to Swami. And once we're connected to Swami 24/7, now dear brothers and sisters, imagine that. Swami is our internal link, our inner link, 24/7. Now imagine, and his speed is even faster than any Wi-Fi we know. So we can connect to him, ask him for guidance, share what we want with him. Even, you know, sometimes if you want to scream at him, because Bhagwan has beautifully said, your anger, give it to me. All your vices, give it to me, and I will give you nothing but love in return. So anything we have, we can just pass it to Swami. That's the beauty of our Bhagwan. He takes everything with such lovingness, with such motherly love that is hard to, you know, sometimes even explain in words. Offer them to Swami, as Sister Shalu said, yes. So let's proceed further, and let's bring it to where do we go from here? Okay, so to move forward, we need to ask the following questions. Who am I? Where am I going? What is my relationship with? What relationships matter? Or which relationships matter? So we need to ask these questions, because only when we start asking these questions today, that we start contemplating, can we take the next step in our lives regarding where we want to be, regarding where we can take ourselves, our mind, closer to Swami, and how we can do that. Okay, so I'm going to pose the next question. It's time to plan SWOT analysis. How does SWOT analysis fit in this? And I'm sure all of you are eager to understand how does SWOT analysis fit in this. So I'm going to share with you the steps you're going to take today. The first step is acknowledge we are not perfect, and remember that we have weaknesses and are prone to threats. That's the first step we need to acknowledge. We need to understand. We need to be aware of this first step in us. And for example, sometimes we feel we are in control of everything that's happening in our lives. Yet, there is none of us that is in control except Bhagwan himself. And that's the beauty. So we have to remember to accept. Remember to accept. The second step is we need to understand we have a great tool, and that is the mind. And through the mind, this is the connection that leads us and bridges us to Bhagwan through the intellect. And we're going to cover this, so don't worry, dear brothers and sisters, we're going to go through all of this. The mind can help us concentrate. It tells us where we commit our mistakes. Have you ever seen so many times, you know, your mind, while you're thinking of something, or while you're doing something, what does your mind tell you? It tells you, don't do this, you will fail. Don't do this, it's not good for you. Don't do this, you know, it's not the best thing. And immediately, it's telling us where we can commit mistakes. So it's a beautiful tool we can use to tell us what we should not do and make sure we can do what we should do. So use the mind to identify our threats and weakness. This is the step we're going to take today. And then we set a plan to overcome a habit, an emotion, a weakness. So I want you all to think of a weakness right now. Any weakness you want to overcome during this session. So let me say, for example, let's say my weakness is, let's just say, for example, is anger. Let's say I have a lot of anger. Swami's given us 2 ways to take care of anger. Oh, very good. Sister Prakriti is with me. We're on the same page. We both are going to talk about anger. Good. We use silence. Now, how do we use silence? I will share with all of you, dear brothers and sisters. But what is also important is that put it in a box. When you put it in a box and you offer it to Swami, he will take it with such grace and love, and all he will give in return is something worthwhile that we can never imagine. Tension, too much thinking. I can see all of us have some sort of things we want to overcome, some sort of weakness we want to overcome. And I'm going to share with you how we do that. So, we're talking about SWOT, and I'm sure most of us will be thinking, the SWOT analysis, yes, we can definitely use in education, business, spirituality. Can we use the SWOT analysis in spirituality? Well, let's go through it together, dear brothers and sisters, and let's see what we can come from this. So the SWOT, what is the SWOT? Strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So I'm going to ask you, now for the weakness you have selected, answer yourself this question. What skills do I possess? So for the weakness you've chosen, what skills do I possess? Now you don't need to put in the chat box. Just keep it with yourself. If you got a piece of paper, you can write it in front of you. If you got your phone, type it out in front of you. But just think, what skills do I possess? And I'm sure all of us have multiple skills. And at the same time, what are my limited resources? What are my limited resources? So let's look at the first two, the strength and the weakness. What skills do I possess? And what are my limited resources? So I just want you to think about it. None of you have to come and type in the chat box yet. And we're going to go through this exercise together. So whatever your strength is and whatever your weakness is, there are ways to overcome it. And we're going to look at what we can use. So the next one we can use is threats. What threats do we encounter when we want to get rid of this weakness? So what are the things outside my control? Let's say, for example, anger. What is outside my control? What is outside my control is nothing. Nothing is outside my control except my mind. So that's a threat we have. The mind is our biggest threat. The mind is our biggest threat. So there's nothing that is outside my control. Why? Because all of us have the biggest tool we have, which is Bhagwan. And that's an opportunity for all of us. That Bhagwan is our guide, Bhagwan is our master, Bhagwan is our teacher, Bhagwan is our parent. Bhagwan is the one who can tell us what, and how. What and how. So I can see Sister Roshni is asking, how about the anger trigger? Yes, the anger is triggered is because internally there is something that is dissatisfied, something that is not accomplished, something that we feel that we are not connected to, something that we feel that did not go as we wanted it to. So we had an expectation. And who had the expectation? We had the expectation. Where did it come from? Internal. So again, who is the one who brought the expectation to us? The mind. Good question, Sister Roshni. So all of this leads to us remembering that everything stems in the mind. That is our biggest threat. That is where we have to work our weakness. So I'm going to share with you 3 strengths and 3 weaknesses first. So let's say all of us from today take on, let's say, 3 strengths and 3 weaknesses. So let's look at the first strength. Desire to pursue our career through collaboration. Now, how many of us can actually do that? We are living in a very competitive world. And all of us want to pursue a career through competition. Isn't it true? Because only when we can better ourselves than the other, do we get our next raise, do we get our next promotion, do we get to look good in the eyes of our bosses? Isn't it true? But the strength is to put our career through collaboration. Let's look at the next strength. Now again, all of these strengths are just examples, and you can build on them, and I'll give you an opportunity to build on your own strength. Solid faith in the existence of the Creator. Now we must all have this strength, and that's why we're here today. Swami has brought us today because we have faith in the existence of our Creator. Let's look at the third strength. And the third strength, time available for spiritual practices. Sadhana. Now all of you are here today is because this is a spiritual practice. We're gathered here as a satsang discussing about how we can use our mind as a tool and how we can build on the mind to lead to our intellect. How we can build on the intellect to reach Swami internally. Now at this point I see there's a question from Brother Sangirder, which I will take. Will assuming one has no control over the mind empower mind's control over us? In fact, dear brothers and sisters, yes and no. So let me put this into a different perspective, brother. First, when you say that you have no control over the mind, in fact, you are the one giving the mind the power. But the moment you say you have control over the mind is the one that has to listen to what you have to say. So it is up to us. It's a choice. It's a choice if we decide to give the mind power or we keep the power. And that's what Bhagwan has mentioned. And I'll share a beautiful example over here with you, which will really put this into perspective. So I'm sure all of you have heard of Lord Rama and Goddess Sita, and you've heard of Lord Hanuman. So once there was this big debate going on between Rishi Valmiki and Lord Hanuman. And the debate was that when Hanuman flew to Lanka, when he was in Ravana's garden, he went to rescue Sita or give Sita the ring from Lord Rama. He saw an area of white flowers. Now when he saw white flowers, to him they were not white in color. They were red in color. Why? Because he was enraged. He was enraged. Enraged that Mother Sita has been caught by Ravana. Now Valmiki was telling him, no, but the flowers were white. And in this debate, Lord Rama heard everything, and as beautiful as Lord Rama or Swami is, he'll come as a mother and explain. And he did that to Lord Hanuman. But Lord Hanuman was so adamant that he saw red flowers. It is then the Mother Sita came and said, no, Hanuman, it was your anger that gave you that perspective to see those flowers as red. So without that anger, the flowers are white. Now, anything happened to the flowers? No. Anything happened to his vision? Yes. They were compromised. They were affected. Affected because the mind was not in Lord Hanuman's control. If the mind was in Lord Hanuman's control, he would see white. And that is what it is. I hope that clarifies, Brother Sai Girder. Okay, so let's look at the weaknesses. So let's look at the first weakness, which I said, desire to pursue career through competition. And then we have the second weakness, which is solid faith in the existence of wealth. And then time for fixed mindset activities. Now you can see all of this. What is the contradictory over here? First, we have collaboration versus competition. Solid faith in creator, solid faith in wealth. Now, is wealth bad? No. I don't mean over here that wealth is bad. Our faith in wealth is bad. No, we all need money. We all need finances to survive. That is not what I'm talking about. That's not what Swami is talking about. What Swami is talking about is that we should not give over importance to money or wealth. We have it today, brilliant. We have more tomorrow, more brilliant. We have little less tomorrow, more brilliant. Because Swami knows how much he's going to give us each day. And Swami has promised us, no matter at which stage of life you're in, he will never, never, never abandon us. So he promises never to abandon us. And all we need to do is show faith in him, which is a strength. Now let's look at the time available for spiritual practices. We must make sure we put time for spiritual practices. Now what do I mean by fixed mindset activities? Can anybody tell me what do you think about fixed mindset activities? What is a fixed mindset? So let me give you an example as you're thinking. A fixed mindset tells me that nothing can change, and as it is now, it will always remain. So for example, let's say, just to give you an example, let's say for example, I am a little overweight, okay? And I will say, oh, that's never going to change because I'm definitely going to keep eating, I'm definitely going to keep doing whatever I do every day, going to work, everything. So that's a fixed mindset. But if I was to change that habit, what do I have to do? Very simply, yes, narrow-minded activities. That's another good example. So we need to change it from that fixed mindset to more spiritual mindset, or we call it growth mindset, and we're going to look at how to do that. So let me give you another example on fixed mindset. Let's say the anger always comes in particular situations. Now I have two choices. I can be silent in that moment, or I can say, no, Swami, here's my anger, and give me love so I can handle the situation with love. And that is what it is, from a fixed mindset to a spiritual mindset. And that is what we need to develop. So one sister asked is, do you mean prejudice about things? Not really prejudice. Fixed mindset means you keep doing the same thing over and over and are not willing to change, not willing to move forward. Okay, now I want all of you to give me one more strength and one more weakness. Come on, let's see. What are the strengths and weakness can we put into this? Wow, Sister Raksha. So something we can do mechanically without thinking profoundly. With true observation, we can transform these habits. Yes, observation, awareness. And then when we are awareness or mindful, the mind will be full so that we can take time to change our habits. Beautiful. Let me hear some of the other strengths and weaknesses that we all have. Anything that you think is a strength or weakness. There is no wrong answer. Yeah, remember the one who's in the center of everything. Beautiful. That's the creator. That's the master. And the weakness is forgetting about him. Good. Strength is discrimination ability, the ability to discriminate what is right and wrong. Correct. What is just and injustice. What is true and untrue. What is real and unreal. Beautiful. Strength, Gayatri Mantra meditation. Yes, spiritual practice. Beautiful. Being inspired, having purity in action. Having control over the mind, giving the mind the control. Yes, beautiful. I can see how you're using the mind as a tool. It's a strength and a weakness. Beautiful. Doing daily prayers. Beautiful. Okay, as you keep posting, I will share with you some other ones that are strengths in our spiritual daily life. Brother Cash, can we have the next slide, please? Thank you. So you can see here one that has good physical, mental health, can serve one's master in any way we can. So you guys have mentioned it. Family members and spouse, in particular, also keen on spiritual pursuit. So when your environment, your family members are also pursuing spiritual practice, you can easily pursue spiritual practice. Peaceful and sattvic surrounding. Now, what is sattvic surrounding? I'll explain very briefly. Sattvic means that when you have pure, you have one that is, you're keeping it very simple and very, very, very divinistic. Okay, in that sense, it's very sattvic. It's very connected to Bhagwan's way of life. Discrimination, which you have said. Basic interest in expanding wisdom. The strength to love God, yes. Now, expanding wisdom, I will touch on in a minute. So the exact opposite you can see of some of them, as Swami has given. When you have reasonably good physical and mental health, you have less regard. You do not take care of your mental and physical health. You're serving self-needs first before serving the master's needs. Is it wrong to serve one's needs? No, dear brothers and sisters, it's not wrong, but it depends on what sort of needs. If we are serving our needs with the needs of others and for the greater good of humanity, that's beautiful. But if you're only serving our own personal needs in disregard to other people's needs, then we are not doing justice. Because Bhagwan himself never at any point of time thought of himself first. Always included everybody around the world. Everybody, even the inanimate objects, even the trees and the plants. So that is the beauty of our Bhagwan. And that's what we need to do. Now, family members not keen on spiritual pursuit, but other pursuit. And then Rajasic or Tamasic surrounding. Now, I'm just going to explain this quickly. What is Rajasic? When you have this leisure, you have this highly profound, highly rich sort of living and taste, that is Sattvic. That is Rajasic. And when you have a lazy, a procrastinistic, it doesn't matter, life will happen tomorrow, that is a very Tamasic way of life. And then we look at basic interest in de-expanding wisdom. Now I'm going to explain quickly expanding wisdom and de-expanding wisdom. But I can see some brothers and sisters have posted, and I just want to share because they're beautiful thoughts. So some strengths are empathy, gratitude, observation, and weakness is lack of consistent effort, getting carried away, not setting the priorities right. A weakness could be lack of clarity on what really is the goal of human life. That is definitely a weakness, and that's the biggest threat, brother. If you don't have clarity on the purpose of life, that's the biggest threat we have. So let's look at one very simple example, expanding wisdom and de-expanding wisdom. Now I'll share this story with you, and the story is also about Lord Hanuman. Now I fancy a lot of stories about Lord Hanuman, so that's why I can share a lot of stories about Lord Hanuman. Now once there was, Lord Hanuman pretended to be a sage, and he came in front of Lord Rama because he had all the wisdom. So he decided that, let me go and challenge Lord Rama and see who this person is. So as he walked up to him, he posed him very intelligent questions, and Lord Rama, with all calmness, knew who Lord Hanuman was and answered everything with simplicity. When Lord Hanuman heard these answers, he was amazed that how can there be another who is much more intelligent than me? And he decided to follow Lord Rama. Now, did Hanuman not have all the wisdom in the world? He knew all the Vedas and all the Shastras. He knew all the mantras. He knew every single aspect of there was in the world because he was trained by the sun god himself. But what he did not lack what he did lack was the ability to convert everything to simplicity. And that is what it is. The interest in expanding wisdom allows us to make everything, though simple, but not simplistic. But de-expanding wisdom allows us to make everything more complicated for ourselves. So even the simple things seem complicated. I can see that there's another strength that has been posted, strength to understand Swami's message. And a weakness is lack of understanding or misunderstanding or interpreting his message. Misinterpreting his message. That's perfect, that is beautiful, yes. And Swami's message has always been simple message, simplistic message. It's never been about making it very fancy for all of us. And Swami's message always takes us on the right path. So let's move to the next slide. Okay, so what is the impact you think of strength and weaknesses? Come on, let's hear your thoughts. We have all the strengths and weaknesses. What is the impact it has on us? What do all of you think? The strengths we have, all of these strengths, what impact does it have on us? And what weaknesses, what impact does it have? Peace? Absolutely. Eventual goal? Yes, definitely. Motivation, faith? Surely. Strength, confidence? Yes. Perfect. On the path of self-realization, we need self-confidence. Growth mindset, yes, brings about inner potential. Strength brings serenity. Beautiful. Okay, now we're going to go to the next slide and I'm going to share with you what Bhagwan tells us. Bhagwan tells us that the strength, as all of you have said, it's positive. There's positive growth within us. And it takes us closer to our true nature, or as posted on the chat, we believe in Swami, keep him always in our heart. That is a strength. Yes, weakness, being uneasy. And you can see the weakness, as you can see in this slide also. The impact is there's no growth, moving away from self, being uneasy, being frustrated. And we all experience this day in and day out, day in and day out. Okay, let's move to the next slide and let's see what we can discuss about opportunities and threats. Weakness, the areas to be changed or avoided. Yes, now I'm going to move on to the threats first. So the threats, lose the opportunity to be on the same side of Bhagwan. And I have a beautiful story to share with you. So I'm not sure if all of you heard of this story, but the story is about Arjuna, Krishna, and Duryodhana. So Krishna was obviously not in favor of the war, the Mahabharata. Arjuna was only following orders of his master, Lord Krishna. And Duryodhana was adamant that I want this war because I want to capture all the kingdoms in the entire world. So Krishna went to him many times, just reminding him, Duryodhana, why don't you compromise and collaborate with your brothers, the 5 Pandavas? Why do you want the war? But time and again, Duryodhana told him, the war will happen. The war will happen. And why? Was his mind in his control? It wasn't. It was in the control of his uncle, who influenced him that the 5 brothers, the 5 Pandavas, who represented the 5 values, are in fact out to destroy Duryodhana. But in fact, his old uncle was there to destroy him. And so the last time that Krishna went to Duryodhana, he gave him a golden opportunity. He asked him one simple question. Duryodhana, do you want me or my godly army? And with all his, we should not judge, but all his ego, as Swami says, he answered, I want the godly army, because with the godly army I can destroy everybody easily. Krishna asked him a second time. He gave the same answer. Krishna asked him a third time. He gave him the same answer. And we know the result of the Mahabharata. Wherever Bhagwan is, wherever Krishna is, if he is with us, we may lose a few battles, but we will never lose the war, because that is the beauty of being on the same side of Bhagwan. Now I'm going to move to the point number 4 and point number 5, which are critical for all of us. We may come into a family situation which increases our demand, and in that case we are threatened to pursue a more worldly path. Is this wrong? No. Bhagwan has always said that we must make sure that we always follow our heart, make sure we do our duty, make sure we use common sense before spiritual sense. So if we apply all of this, if we are needed with family, we give attention to family, attention to the situation. But then do we come back to Bhagwan when we can? Surely. Do we come back to Bhagwan when we can serve him? Surely. And does it mean I need to physically be at the center all the time? No. But why not if I can? And Bhagwan has given a beautiful illustration why I should go to the center. 2 things we get when we go to the center. The first, we get his grace. Second, we can recharge ourselves. When we face with all these negativity and desires and things that pull us down, and we can, at that point of time, go to the Sai Center and present everything to him at his feet, what do we get in return? Energy, power, love, and we can develop our own happiness at that point of time. Now let's look at the opportunities. Being chosen by Bhagwan in his mission, and all of us are so lucky to be handpicked by Bhagwan. And we must continue to serve him, because that is the purpose of the mind, to serve mankind. And I'm going to go to point 4 and 5 over here. Access to a nearby spiritual library to be a star for Bhagwan. Now this is where we need to head to. This is an opportunity for all of us. Now when we undertake this opportunity, what happens to our weakness? What happens to our threats? So just a quick recap before we move on. We talked about gratitude, that we need to acknowledge we have weakness. But there is only one us. And who is us? We in entirety are God together, and we are a gift of God. We must honor and respect our strengths. And once we do that, automatically we discussed about how we can be aware of our weaknesses and how we can overcome them. So I know all of you have chosen a weakness, and it's going to come in the next few slides how we can overcome them. There are countless opportunities, as I just shared in the previous slide. And also, we must be consciously aware that all threats lie within us. So are you ready for some hard work? Okay, so now we're going to take a practical example in SWOT. Okay, so I've taken a few things and look at these weaknesses that we discussed about earlier. Desire to pursue career through competition. Time for socially draining practices. Less regard for good health. Rajasic or tamasic surrounding. Basic interest in de-expanding wisdom. Now the first one, when we have competition, an opportunity, you look at this beauty of Bhagwan's way. He gives us a weakness, he gives us an opportunity. We can develop patience and forbearance. So now for all the weaknesses that you thought for yourself, think what opportunity Bhagwan has given you, because he always does that. He gives you a weakness and he gives you an opportunity immediately. He gives you a weakness, he gives you an opportunity immediately. Socially training practices. Chant the Gayatri Mantra. Now, one of the brothers and sisters said we should chant the Gayatri Mantra. Do Namasmaran. When we have less regard for good health and mental health, we need to watch our thoughts, actions, and words. So look at how beautifully the opportunities presents itself. And all of these opportunities have been given to us in the wonderful booklet called Sadhana of Love, which I'm sure many of you have heard of, many of you have read, and if you haven't read it, get in touch with your National Young Adult Coordinator and get that booklet. It's technically the Bible for all of us. It's a beautiful collection of how we can move in our life spiritually from self-confidence to self-realization. And it's available on the website as well, if you go to the website. So it's a beautiful collection, and all these ideas have been taken from there, and they're quotes from Bhagwan. So dear brothers and sisters, all the answers of weakness are in that booklet. Now, here's a question I'm going to pose to all of you. Offer your WAT to God, so that's we know what is that, words, action, thoughts to God. Then you will develop CH and SH. So can any of you share what is CH and SH? Thank you, Sister Raksha. Yes, hard work is hard work. Chitta Shuddhi, very good. Character, beautiful. Yes, the name of the book is The Sadhana of Love, and it's available as a link, the SOL link, which is on the Young Adults webpage. So if you look through that, there'll be all the 18 sadhanas or spiritual practices you can undertake. It works with wisdom and worship, and it guides you through different stages from self-confidence to self-realization. Okay, beautiful. So I got one character. Okay, and it's right. So whatever you have said is correct. The CH stands for character, and heart, which is the watch, W-A-T-C-H, character and heart. And Chitta Shuddhi is also correct. Yes, it is in a way linked to that. And then SH. SH is shh, silence. When you start giving WAT to Bhagwan or to any God form you believe in, then you will develop character, heart, and silence. So let's move on to the threats and the strengths. Make our conscious, if we have the threat, lose the opportunity to be on the same side of Bhagwan, let our mind lure us on spiritual paths, company of people who are opposed to spirituality. Then we have, look at the other side, we make our conscious our master. We gradually eliminate our 6 enemies. And also, what are the 6 enemies? I've given it to you, dear brothers and sisters. Desire, anger, greed, delusion, pride, and jealousy. And then share teachings of Bhagwan's, or share with ourselves, or read about great teachings of different souls or from Bhagwan. And this is how we can move from threat to strength. Again, all of these are practical ways that we can take from the Sadhana of Love booklet. So such a beautiful booklet we have, and we can use it to overcome our weaknesses and threats. So any answer you need is there in the booklet. So if you want to get rid of anger, the beautiful way to get rid of anger. Swami says, do Namasmarana. Divert that attention immediately to a spiritual master. Or, as Swami says, offer it as a flower at his lotus feet. All of this are very practical and very easy to do, dear brothers and sisters. Okay, can we move to the next slide, dear brother Cash? Okay, so all of this you can see is how we have taken threat and weakness and we've transferred them using opportunities and threats. And every time we have a weakness, we use an opportunity. Every time we have a threat, we use our strength. And if you don't have a strength, you develop a strength. And how do you develop a strength? We'll just see in the next slide. So you can see this is a circle. This is where we are. The mind is in the realm of thinking. It will think, and overthink, and underthink, and think that it doesn't want to think that it should not think, and do everything and anything. The heart, it just feels. But the spiritual heart feels and is the center of our being. Then we have the body, which is in the step of doing. So all of this we have covered. Now we need to move a little bit to our being. Who are we? So we've discussed about cleansing the body, cleansing the mind. We have love in our heart with all the teachings of Bhagwan in our heart. We connect with the intellect, and we move on to enveloping ourselves or developing ourselves to be one with the Spirit. And that is how a clean mind will lead to an insight. Now we're going to have a further look at the next slide, and I'm going to share more with you. So dear brothers and sisters, here's an image of a mirror. Can you tell me in this mirror what is missing? If you look at the mirror, what is missing? Beautiful, self, and that is the key. So can we move to the next slide, dear brother Cash? Self is missing. And this is what Bhagwan tells us about the mind. Now I'm not going to read through all of it, but I'm going to touch some key points. The mind is unsteady because of desires. The only way to avoid external impressions or desires is to go inward. To affect this change, we need to use the senses, discrimination from the intellect. So as I said, we're moving from the body, the mind, moving to the intellect, and then that will take us to Bhagwan. The intellect is a very powerful tool all of us have. Now, all the activities we do, and I'm reading to the second paragraph, are based on separating themselves from God. Whenever we cannot realize when we realize to be away from God, those activities separate us from God. What do we need at that point of time? A sense of oneness, that we and Bhagwan are one. And Bhagwan has a beautiful joke on this. Bhagwan always says, I and I are we. We are one. Bhagwan always used to joke with the students like that. I and I are we. No. And we are one. So whenever we do anything, we must remember that it's not us doing it alone. Bhagwan is always there with us. And as he's doing this with us, he is making sure that we purify our buddhi, purify our reflection, so we can connect closer to ourselves. Can we have the next slide, dear brother? So let us go back to the questions we started off with, because that's where we are today. Who am I? I am a person ready to grow in my life. Where am I going? I am going to serve my master and mankind. What is my relationship with? My relationship is with God, self, intellect, or any other terminology you want to use. Which relationships matter? The relationship that envelops me or leads me to God. So those relationships matter. And these all are our strengths, our opportunities. Now, dear brothers and sisters, the final few questions. So the first thing, why do we need a clean mind? And how to get inner Sai sight? Very true, Sister Raksha. Sometimes we are so busy and carried away with our digital technology, with everything digital, that is easy, that is to say external activities envelop us, that we forget the most important eye, which is the inner eye. And that is what we have today. All we need to do is we can use SWOT, we can use Swami's beautiful, simple quotes and remind us who we are. And we all know that we are one with Bhagwan. Beautiful. So let's see. Why do we need a clean mind and how to get inner sight? Let's see what Bhagwan shares with us. Swami says connect not to Wi-Fi but to sci-fi. Yes. So Sister, can you share with us what is sci-fi? A clean mind to hear our inner voice and connect to God. Beautiful. You need the clean mind, you need the clear mind, because once your mind is full of all the impurities, nothing can go in it. But as we do Namasmaranan, as we take on spiritual practice, the mind gets cleansed slowly and gradually, and we can fill it up then with teachings of Bhagwan, and that will take us closer to Bhagwan. And is it an easy task? No, not at all. We will have to struggle, we'll have to work hard, but only through working hard, only through remembering to change our weaknesses and threats to opportunities, weaknesses and threats to opportunity and strengths, can we proceed and grow in this process. Sci-fi is knowing that Swami is always holding the hand. Beautiful. Having more connection with Swami and always thinking good intentions with a positive mind. A clean mind implies both purity and stillness. Beautiful. All these are correct answers. And the key is, as I said earlier, if you offer W8T, what do you develop? Character and heart. And what do you get? SH, silence. Silence is the language of God. All else is utter, pure, poor translation. Clear mind leads us to one-pointedness, yes. So now I'm asking you, dear brothers and sisters, this is the last question of today, and I know you guys have been very interactive and very supportive. So what does Swami say when he means these statements? Silence is the only language of the realized. Practice moderation in speech. What does he mean by these statements? I won't say Prema Sarupa Lara because I'm not at Bhagwan's stage yet, but I know he always used to call it Prema Sarupa Lara, and I always used to love that about him. So what does he mean by silence is the language of God, or silence is the language of the realized? Calmness. In silence, we can only hear ourselves. He speaks when the mind is silenced. Speak good and only when necessary. Beautiful. All of you guys are at the correct path. Yes, this is exactly where we need to be. Silence. We need to develop that silence. Speak when we need to. And Swami says a beautiful thing about silence is that it's a language of God, which means that we don't need to say words for us to be realized or to be on this plane. All we need is action without words. Action should speak louder than our words. Yes, when you are realized, you have nothing to say. You can't explain it. Yes, it's a sense of being, and that's our spiritual sense. That's our sense of the spirit. Inner silence. When we have silence, we do the right thing. Oh, I like this beautiful, inspiring, necessary. Sorry, I'm just going to go back to that. Beautiful shares here. Before speak, think, is it true, helpful, inspiring, necessary, kind? Yes, beautiful. So we must pass through all these filters, and when we pass through all these filters, what do we develop? We developed stillness, silence. First be, then do, then tell. And don't forget see. We must also learn to see. See good, see right. Only when we realize Swami constantly through love, God and service, beautiful and good action. Body is inert. Hence, when the mind is perfectly silent, what remains conscious is the self. Yes, and that's what we need to get. And do you know, dear brothers and sisters, how many seconds Bhagwan has said? How many seconds Bhagwan has said for us to be silent every day? Beautiful, 11 seconds. So why don't we take all of us, just take this opportunity. If we're doing it for 11 seconds, let's do it for a minute and 11 seconds. If we're doing it for a minute and 11 seconds, let's take it further. Let's bring this ourselves closer to Bhagwan. Let's develop this language of silence. And that is the key. So through all this from the body, the mind, we move to silence. Can we have the next slide, brother? So what does Swami want from us? And I'm going to conclude in 2-3 minutes, dear brothers and sisters. We should have unwavering faith. Whatever happens in the world, it should not waver our faith. Whether we have good days, bad days, we're engaged in everything, we must remember that whenever we can, wherever we are, connect to Swami. As we said, we can develop the Sai-Fi. What is the Sai-Fi? Swami within, and he is the shortest distance. You can just say Swami and he's there. Even before I say Swami, our thought will think of Swami and he's there. That is the connection we have. So we should never forget that, and we should make sure we should have pure, unselfish hearts. We should not be swayed by mundane desires. The only thing we need to develop is, as even the Upanishads say, that if we want to attain closer to the self, or closeness to the self, we have to be brave, bold, and courageous, with a will that can traverse every mountain. That is where we have to be. So our faith should be there, that no matter what happens today, no matter if it happens, it does not happen. No matter if it happens more or less, no matter if we forget or we don't forget, Swami is always there to make sure when there is anything bad, the good is also there. If there's anything sad, happiness is there. If there's anything wrong, right is also there. There's always that opportunity for all of us. So we should never forget that. Can we move to the next slide, brother? There are two kinds of mad people in the universe, those who have God madness and world madness. Now I'll let all of you decide, do you want to have God madness or world madness? And whatever you choose, it'll be exactly perfect. So whatever you choose is perfect because you're on the spiritual path now. But there will come a time when Bhagwan will come to you and ask you, why don't you choose God madness? And at that point of opportunity, do not say no. Take it with all your strength, with all your weakness, with all your threats, everything. Because Bhagwan has given you these strengths, weaknesses, and threats. So he has given you the opportunity to remove them also. So remember, when you get an opportunity for God madness, take it. Because that's where Bhagwan has promised, I shall come to you as the cure for God madness. And when Bhagwan is with us, like we saw in the Mahabharata with Krishna, when we saw in the Ramayana with the war with Ravan, when Ram was there, we all know what happened. Do we want to be on which side? Do we want to have which path for us? So I'm just going to conclude. Now you can see what we started off with. We need the insight for the inner sight. We know we need a clean mind and a clean body. With that, we can develop a clean mind. Once we develop a clean mind, which we use the SWOT to do, we can then lead to InSAIght, or the inner sight with Swami. And what does Swami want from all of us? Unwavering faith, service to mankind, all his beautiful quotes that he's given us. Help ever, hurt never, love all, serve all, be good, see good, do good. All these simple things is what he wants from us. Bhagwan is very simple. Even 11 seconds of silence, very simple. All he's given us is simplicity, and all we need to do is take it to the next level to make it our own, to live by his example. And then once we develop silence, everything else doesn't matter, because silence is the language of God. So Sai Ram, dear brothers and sisters, I hope I brought some sort of new perspective to this understanding. And if there are any questions you may have, please feel free to send it to the team. I'll be happy to answer through them. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you very much for letting me share my strengths and making sure that we together abolish our weaknesses and threats. Jai Sai Ram.
Thank you so much, Brother Sai Ameet, for sharing how we connect with our inner sight, cleaning our minds and our clothes, and our own personal SWOT analysis. I'm sure all of us have learnt something from this session. So our next workshop is titled Back to the Source, the Art of Providing and Receiving Feedback, which will be by Brother Sathya Shiva from Zone 1. So thank you, everybody. We'll close today's session with 1 Om and 3 Shantis, and please remember to hand in your feedback form before you leave. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sai Ram.